Very good. Okay, cool. Let's get it started. This is pretty exciting for me to have Mr. Darren Callahan on the show. He has really wanted to talk about Steven Seagal movies, and I jumped right at the chance to talk to someone about Steven Seagal movies. Darren Callahan, award-winning writer, director, and composer, who has written drama for the BBC, Sci-Fi Channel, and others, mostly focused on the horror genre. Where's my thumb? There it is. Yes. Had several stage productions, films, novels, and released about 80 records. Is that what they call them these days, records?
Sure. Yeah. It's just a generic term for
some kind of
objects.
Musical object. A quick Google search on his name will give you more detail. Lives in Los Angeles and currently producing a cool shoegaze band known as the Lounge Bangs. And can we mention what your father worked for in the 70s, or is that top secret?
Sure. No, it's not top secret. Yeah. My father was a Marine, and then he was a CIA agent, and then later a journalist. And then he passed away. He wasn't like hit or anything with a hit squad.
Okay.
He passed away of natural causes, but quite young. He was 42. But he,
wow.
Yeah, he was a CIA agent. So, and my brother has been in the military his whole career and has served tours of duty in Iraq and everything. So I'm the only one who's non-military.
Okay. You write about war? Or?
I have a couple of scripts that are, there's battles within them. I wouldn't call them war scripts or anything, but I did co-write a script with my brother, which is an excellent script that is straight up World War II movie, like Inglourious Basterds. So,
nice.
There's always something out there in the catalog that's something. But I have a 3-hour IMAX movie called The Airship, which is amazing. And I wish somebody had $250 million to make it, but it is the movie Waterloo. Like, you ever see the movie Waterloo from the 70s? The big
I have not. Was that a
movie?
Was that a Russian production of Napoleon's battle, or no?
Russians were involved in that because they needed all of those troops to recreate the battle scenes. Right. So they used the same troops that Russia was using for their adaptation of War and Peace. So
War and Peace was crazy production, right?
Yeah.
They used thousands of there was like an unlimited budget. That's wild.
Many shots.
It is cool to see those films, like a David Lean picture, or or those state-sponsored films are just so crazy. I think there's some Korean films also that have massive budgets, and it's so fun to just watch in awe as you see thousands of soldiers all dressed in period costumes. It's
no CGI.
No CGI, yeah.
No people.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I love that stuff. Yes.
So I wrote a 3-hour IMAX movie that was it's not about Waterloo, but it's set in that same time period, and it has at the last hour of it is this incredibly large battle that would be very expensive, but is wonderful. So
all right, well, if I got 300 million, maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah, scrap up 300 million. I'm not in that zone yet. I'm still in the 5 to 10 million range. So
all right, that's cool. So I didn't know how you wanted to start off. If you wanted to go chronologically, or if you wanted to save your favorite film for last, or
sure. Yeah, we can save and people can guess, I guess, if they're listening, what is our favorite. But let me just give you a little preamble if I can. During the pandemic a year ago, I think, I decided to watch some 90s action movies. I worked at a video store in 1995, and a lot of these movies came through, but I never revisited them. I didn't see The Net more than like once in 1995, or Executive Decision, or things like that. I just never saw them. So I went through like a little period where I saw Turbulence and In the Line of Fire and just all these 90s action films. So as I'm doing it, it's recommending other films I should see. And a lot of Steven Seagal was coming up. And I chose the one that is not my favorite, but I chose Under Siege and Under Siege 2, which are two of his biggest box office ones.
Yeah.
but then I don't know, I just went down the rabbit hole there. I kind of stopped like in 1995. I didn't go to like
Yeah,
his
there's not
late.
much after that. Yeah.
It's all same old after then. So tonight's podcast, or today's, whenever you're listening to it, we're going to stick to that prime period of 88 to 94 ish. But I got to tell you,
Yeah.
when I discovered my favorite, I became a fan. I was like, this movie is, I posted about it, which is where this pod got a hold of me, because I was just in love with that movie. So the others are great, but that movie, that one movie we'll talk about is,
Yeah.
oh
It's
my gosh.
phenomenal. It is. It's crazy. That's entertainment, is what I would say.
Yes, yes. It even gets good reviews, which is strange for a movie like it is. So we'll talk.
Yeah. We can start. Well, okay. So one thing I just want to overall in general is that he pulled some pretty big stars in his films. On Deadly Ground, why don't we start there just for fun? Even though
Sure.
later ones.
Great one to start with.
Oh yeah, Michael Caine.
Yes, I was always a giant fan of Michael Caine, even the bad movies like, I don't know if it's technically bad, but blame it on Rio, or Jaws: The Revenge, or any of his shouting movies,
Yeah.
like. But I always loved Michael Caine. I loved Without a Clue, particularly where he's Sherlock Holmes. He's I don't know. I just always adored that guy. So to see him in On Deadly Ground as one of the central characters, although I have to say he doesn't get a ton of screen time,
No.
but he's so, oh my gosh. I mean, it's Michael Caine, and he's playing Michael Caine basically. So I love that.
So here's, and then so a couple of more things about that before I play a little audio clip is the fact that his makeup is just weird. He looks like he's got a plastic face. And there's one where they're making him up, and he's just got like cream just all over his face. It's really bizarre.
The costumes, the makeup, the sound, the Foley, everything about that movie is problems. So we'll talk about that. But I got to tell you, there's this phenomenon with older actors where they're the young hip thing for a period of time, as Michael Caine was. And then he becomes, middle-aged, a little more paunchy. Maybe his choices of career movies are not the greatest. And you could tell they're not quite ready to be old yet in Hollywood. So they do that extra makeup thing, or they do something special with their hair, particularly if they're losing it. And then they kind of burn through this period, and they just own the older character parts later.
Which he's done some amazing stuff since. So many great things.
Yeah. So this is him and his pancake makeup. I don't really want to be old. I'm still a young strapping lad, even though he's probably 55.
Probably, yeah.
Like that.
And so in the Seagal movies, one of the great memes, I guess you would call it, is the declaration by somebody else that this guy is unbelievable. He's off the charts. He's secret. He's CIA, NSA. All that. So here's Michael Caine's little thing here.
Who is he? You want to know who he is? Sir. Try this. Delve down into the deepest bowels of your soul. Try to imagine the ultimate fucking nightmare. And that won't come close to this son of a bitch when he gets pissed.
I love it.
You know what? That's that screenwriting trick, which is, I haven't seen him do anything spectacular yet, but let's do a little bona fides thing, which is amazing in Under Siege, because they wait an hour before they reveal that.
That's true.
Which I think is really, great, because it's the same thing with, what was the History of Violence, where the movie is like,
Josh Olson, great.
Is this guy really a killer? Because he seems like a cook for like the longest time. Not, I guess there's two cooks here, because there's a cook in History of Violence too. But the deal is, it takes him a very long time. But then when you revealed that it is the guy, he is amazing or whatever, the bona fides that he gets is sort of not that important in Under Siege, because he's already done like 10 things. You're kind of like, kind of catching on.
A lot of ass. And then we have Lee Ermey, of course, famous for his role in Full Metal Jacket. Here's this is a particularly funny one.
Guy in D.C. tells me that we are not dealing with the student here. We're dealing with the professor. Anytime the military has an operation that can't fail, they call this guy in to train the troops, okay? He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos. This guy's a professional, you got me? If he reaches this rig, we're all going to be nothing but a big goddamn hole right in the middle of Alaska.
Yeah, that is so great. It's like, okay, let's write 15 particular, lines that he could use, and he just uses all of them.
He uses it all. Yeah.
Every single one.
It's really kind of out of place. It's like they're ready to go into battle here, and he spends like 5 minutes explaining how badass this guy is.
Yeah, it's not exactly morale for the troops, because they're like, I'm not going in there. What's the point of saying all that?
Yeah. There's another off the subject, kind of, which is in Rambo, when he talks about how Rambo, what he would eat would make billy goats puke. Just I love that. You better bring a lot of body bags. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, see, it's funny. There's the catchphrase line that so many action movies in the 90s and 80s had that are just, they're just amazing lines, and they live with us today as catchphrases. But I feel like in all of these movies we're going to talk about today, they kept searching for that catchphrase, and sometimes it's great. But I've got actually for each movie a series of best quotes.
Oh, good.
From each ones, because the dialogue is it's pure gold.
It is. It is pure gold. I love it. Okay, so talking about Rambo, kind of the concept is, I kind of never understood why he just didn't become a Vito or a character, because he's so similar in all the films. He might as well have stayed the same character. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, there might be rights issues why they couldn't do that. Maybe some of these were meant to be, above the law too, which is actually, I hear, in pre-production for some odd reason. But the idea is, maybe there's IP reasons, because there's all different companies and people and producers involved with these. It wasn't a cohesive plan. I don't feel like anybody said, I'm going to take this guy through all of these characters, and we're going to find some, Under Siege is probably the closest where he's had a role that's like Jason Bourne or something.
Yeah.
Because all the rest are a real hodgepodge of mostly cops. And it's like they could have been the same cop. They could have been Dirty Harry, but they're not.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. So that was interesting. Do you want to share a couple of On Deadly Ground?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, we should clarify for any of the listeners that On Deadly Ground was directed by Steven Seagal. He used all of his
directing, yes,
Hollywood superpowers after Under Siege to get On Deadly Ground made. And he said, I'll be in Under Siege 2 if you let me do On Deadly Ground as director, which explains actually a lot of it, because the hubris of this project is insane. And it's clear that this guy doesn't know his way around a camera or an editing room or a soundstage or anything.
Good action.
Yeah, it's got well, they're not even like really well edited action sequences, but they're at least mildly entertaining. But okay, in terms of quotes, the whole film On Deadly Ground is set in Alaska in the oil fields, and Michael Caine's a bad oil rigger guy. Or like oil baron guy. Yeah,
Aegis oil. Yes.
So, but anyway, a lot of it involves native population and their feelings about the wreck of the environment for the sake of oil. And I think the environmental message is good, but I've never seen a more ham-fisted delivery of this message. It is super didactic. It really drags the story down. It completely steals everything from that culture in like an equally pirate-like way.
Talk about appropriation of the Eskimo culture.
Oh yeah, and they have Joan Chen playing the main Eskimo, and they give her nothing to do. She's a really dull character. I love Joan Chen. And she's as far as I know, she's not from that area. So they couldn't cast somebody from the area, but I have to say they did have several clearly
Inuit or Eskimo.
Inuit people or Eskimos in
they
the
tried
film.
to get some authentic people in there. Yeah.
So I'll give them some props there. Okay, but back to the quote. So this all lead up to the quote because this quote is so good. So everyone sort of knows Steven Seagal or somebody like him is coming to help them, like through the dream sequences and the peyote kind of sort of filmmaking, that somebody is coming, a hero is coming. They don't know who it is, but one of the natives says, the spirit of the man bear lives within the smoke, because there's just been like I forget, a car crash or an explosion or something, so there's smoke. So he's like 2 miles away and he sees the smoke, and the Indian just points and goes, oh, he's not an Indian, I should say that he's, I can't remember if he's Eskimo or Inuit, but he points and he says, the spirit of the man bear lives within the smoke. And I laughed aloud. I'd never seen this movie before, by the way, until studying for this pod. I laughed so hard that my wife had to come out and say, are you watching a comedy? Because it was the greatest line ever.
That is a good one. Yeah, that was actually him trying to be assassinated by Kane. They were going to blow him up because he used explosives to put out oil fires. That was his rig.
That's
so
right.
Seagal at the beginning of this is actually kind of on the side of the big oil. Maybe the first 15 minutes, and then he turns pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's actually kind of an interesting thing about it. And I don't mind it's trying to, I kind of like the plot. It's sort of similar to Humanoids from the Deep, where like the cannery is trying to do things underground, that causes all this havoc. And this is kind of like it. They got a nice ticking clock in there. They have to have this oil rig start before this time, and there's like no parts to start it. But so they're doing bad, shoddy work, and it's dangerous, and it could have an oil spill. That's all cool. I liked all that.
Yeah, that old man, the guy with the big mustache. That all the stuff.
The movie's whack because like Irvin Kershner's in a scene, like playing a commercial director, and he's the director of Empire Strikes Back.
That was Irvin Kershner. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm like, what is he doing in this? And I'm completely shocked. The film was $50 million. I mean, even in 1994, that's a big
hell of a lot.
It looks cheap, and
it does. It looks like kind of a direct-to-video thing.
Yeah. What'd they spend it on? It's like maybe the locations
and snowmobiles. I don't know. They might have spent it on the bar scene, the fight in the bar.
That character actor that he beats up. I love that guy. What's
yes, Mike Starr.
Yeah, he's in Ed Wood. I love that guy.
And yeah, he's great. He was also in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Who has the stomach problems.
Yes, I love that guy. I love that guy.
That for me, that is the scene that sticks out to me as the most ludicrous, because this guy is just so racist against the native people, and he's just throwing this drunk guy down, and so Seagal wants to change the man. So here's the quote after 5 minutes of talking.
What does it take? What does it take to change the essence of a man?
I need time to change.
Time? I do too.
Yeah, I need time to change. So he immediately, from being a complete racist ass to I need time to change. And
he's humbled. Yeah, after getting a beating. Here's something we should raise now, because this is a theme throughout all the movies. But again, we're not going to get too much into Steven Seagal as the guy who he really is, and the problematic things of non-movie related things. So we're going to skip over all that and just look at the art. But throughout his art, he has at least in all the films I've seen, have a very solid moral compass. Like there is good, it's good and bad, kind of like good versus evil, very clear who's who. Maybe even more clear than Dirty Harry or Charles Bronson or something, because there is a bit of ambiguity there. And I think the thing is they always try to put a little bow on it, because there's always in all of these movies some Steven Seagal speech about how the code works.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's necessary, because we get that, but yeah, slows the fights down.
Well, right. Yeah. And the thing I like in general about all his fight scenes is that he uses the weapons that the people have against them. So it's always works out that way, whether it be a pool cue or whatever. The guy will come at you and then he'll grab it and then whack a guy on the head. And then there's that like that bone, I don't know if it's a whalebone stick on Deadly Ground that he uses against a couple of his attackers.
What's weird is he never fights more than one guy. Like there could be 7 people coming at him, but it's one at a time. It's single file.
Well, yeah, I mean that's typical for any
sure,
like
martial arts
thing. They all wait in a circle and then one at a time will come in. Yeah, it's true. It's pretty hard to choreograph. Jackie Chan, I think, has done multiple, but it's pretty hard to choreograph multiple guys coming at you. But on Deadly Ground, what else is there about that?
Well, I just want to mention 2 things. One, the dream sequence. He's got
oh my God, I love that dream sequence.
It's crazy. It's like he saw Twin Peaks and he said, I want to put something like that in the movie, but he's not David Lynch. He doesn't know how to really edit it and
almost
make it
naked girls. And then I love the bear. When he attacks the bear guy in the bear suit or whatever. He's like
I know.
That's really
it's so hodgepodge.
Yes.
And it's long, man. It is long.
It is.
It's way longer than any sequence that like that bad needs to be.
Yeah.
The movie's already 2 hours. They don't need all that.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was Billy Bob Thornton's early
That's
appearance.
right. Billy Bob he's a very small role. He's one of the thugs that Ermey brings in. Yeah. But you can tell he's good. But it is interesting to see someone early on.
I also think it's one of those indications like, okay, if you see a movie and there's a lot of background people or thugs and oil workers, there's no real distinguishing palette to any of them except the 2 or 3 main bad guys. But then real close to the end of the movie, Billy Bob Thornton shows up and he gives him like an actual character. He's like, you want to see more of that guy.
True.
And that's what a good actor does. He takes this opportunity of this pretty throwaway role, and they may have cut it, except it's so extraordinary to watch him become a fully realized character in 4 seconds.
That's true, because he actually has a point of view about what's going on instead of just being a mindless thug. So that's very true. He comes out as a memorable, actor or character in the story.
So kudos to him for milking that moment for greater good. And on Deadly Ground, I have to say, it's not a good place to start in the Seagal filmography. If that's
no, I wouldn't start there because that's what he directs. But it's a good one to end up with probably because it's showing Seagal's directing. The one great thing about the story is that he's so environmentally conscious, yet he causes an unbelievable environmental disaster by blowing up an oil rig. And blasting millions of gallons of oil and soot into the air.
It's a film of contradictions.
Yes. But, there you go. Now, okay, I'm going back now. Going back to Above the Law, This was the one I kept on getting confused with the other one that you really wanted to do. But
Well, here's I always confuse Above the Law with Marked for Death.
oh, Marked for Death. That's the more Jamaican
Yeah,
voodoo one. Yeah.
that was the one right after Above the Law.
Okay.
I think, and it was those movies are interchangeable in all things except Above the Law really is more together, but like in terms of what happens in them, there's not a big shade of difference there.
No, you got corruption, Above the Law. You got the dirty feds, and the CIA is not above the law. That's what they're saying in this.
Yeah, it starts with a Richard Nixon quote.
Yeah, it is so crazy. I just love how they also. This one is, let's see. Let me see. Their terror bomb a church during a service. That one is really crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
my God, yeah. Henry Silva.
Henry
So
Silva. You know, this feels like an exploitation movie from the 70s, except it was 1988. But it's got all the hallmarks. It even has Pam Grier in there as his partner.
Okay. That's true. Yeah.
And I should take a moment to say that, you know, I don't think Dirty Harry movies are sexist, but I don't think they're of the time. I don't think they're trying to find ways to insult women or whatever. And I kind of feel with Steven Seagal, he actually in these films moves beyond that, where you're actually kind of pleased with the interaction with the women. He's very respectful of a lot of that. And I remember seeing one of the movies, I can't remember, and I was honestly surprised at how tasteful it was. I mean, Pam Grier is a character. She's got her own mind and her own heroism, and she's fully developed. And
boy, is she?
You know, that's for sure. She's probably 30 at that point. I can't remember how old she was.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
But anyway, she's great. And you know, that film is not only his first film, and he acquits himself fairly well, but it's Andrew Davis who did The Fugitive and Under Siege.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
a lot of
so
these early ones are Chicago based.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't know if he's from Chicago, but he loves to make Chicago things. And all of his movies have those same two guys, those two cops.
Okay.
They're in this one. They're in the other Andrew Davis one. We'll get to in a minute.
Oh.
And they're in The Fugitive. I mean, they must be friends of his or something because they're not great actors. But they're very Chicago.
You see a Chicago cop and say, "Oh, that guy again." Yeah, for sure. But you know, this is the only one that I can think of that has like the flashback, because that's like Vietnam flashback, and Silva's using this chemical, interrogation techniques, and he rebels against it, and Silva, and then one of the dirty cops was with him, and so it comes back, but they kind of show him before. I guess that was a CIA thing that they were in Vietnam.
Yeah, he was some sort of covert operations guy. I mean, they make a weird leap from karate teacher to CIA agent. That they don't really connect the dots too well there, but it's okay. It's fine.
Oh, that's the one where they start off with like the history of his family and stuff, right? Yeah. So he didn't come over from Italy, that's for sure.
No, and
immigrant parents.
I think he came from Mars.
Italian a lot.
True, he does play an Italian a lot. I don't actually know where he's from, but the thing is, he's I don't know, 72. I think he said he was in Vietnam, and that's the beginning of the film. Is him as a karate instructor in Vietnam, and then 88 is the movie. He doesn't look any older, and that is 15 years later.
That's true.
So
yeah, that's funny. True. Silva still got it though.
Silva's not in it very much, and I was glad he was in it because Silva is the only one that can deliver that performance with so little screen time. And the thugs were really boring. Like, it didn't look like they were in trouble at all. Yeah.
But Silva is pretty nasty. I mean, he's about to kill this priest for some information about. It's like, okay,
yeah,
pretty vicious stuff. That's for sure.
You know what though? That priest, when they're torturing that priest, and just for the audience out there, it's not extremely violent or anything, but they're clearly going to do something to this priest, and they don't get to that
Right.
before Seagal breaks in. Seagal is like randomly shooting his gun at everybody, and why didn't he hit that priest?
I know that was
not that good of a shot.
I don't know if the nun was in there too, but I remember that. It's like he was just spraying lead everywhere.
Yeah. Like, protect the hostage. There's some basic training there you should have. But okay, one other thing is, since it's connected to that scene, is the MacGuffin of Above the Law is dumb. It's just thin. It's like there's some papers that then there's maybe a confession to the priest, and they want to know if the priest what he confessed, and I'm just like, this is way. How do they even know any of this?
Seems like a lot of bother for not much.
Something you really don't think they should just go ahead with killing the senator, because this is not going to disrupt it, clearly.
Yeah. And it seems like a roundabout way of getting to it too. Yeah, exactly. I know, crazy. All right, now let's see.
I do, at the end of the day, recommend Above the Law, though, because it was, of the ones we're talking about today, it was solid.
It's definitely good. Yeah, I definitely like that one. Absolutely. Okay, so we're not going to go for the main one quite yet. I know.
Yeah, keep you in suspense.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hard to Kill is my next choice. Hard to Kill. Yes, Kelly LeBrock and William Sadler. Another. Well, this is a corrupt senator, not the good senator thing. So
it's the same plot, but it's reversed. You notice that?
It is.
It's like the senator was the good guy he was protecting in the early movie Above the Law,
right?
And Hard to Kill, the senator is the bad guy.
He is the bad guy.
To get to him. And
it's unbelievable what lengths the senator will go to not get that tape released. I mean, they are just everywhere. It's like, okay, they had like the cops were at the station were all in on it. Like all the cops are like bad, and they're like waiting. Like, what was it? 7 years later, he was in a coma from an assassination attempt. His wife gets it, but he somehow survives after 3 shotgun blasts. But that 7 years later, a call comes into the police station, and a John Doe is woke up from coma, and then instantly they have an assassin at the hospital.
Yes. Wow. How did they know this? It is 7 years later.
I know. It seems like a lot of effort, for this little tape. He's got that cheesy like camcorder with the shotgun mic.
That camcorder bugged me too, because it's clearly a camcorder and there's video, but then everyone is after an audio tape.
That's true.
So it's different formats. I'm not quite sure what the scoop is there.
That's true. Well, he had a shotgun mic on there that got the audio, but it was video too. So, and that's got one of the greatest,
it's just
greatest lines. I don't know if I don't want to spoil your line. If you have one for this one, we forgot to.
I have 3 for this one.
Oh, good. Okay, excellent. Let's hear.
Okay, well, there's the bad guy. William Sadler is a character actor. He's probably most known for Shawshank Redemption. He was one of the prisoners that was close friends there. Yeah, he's the guy who said Alexander Dumbass when he was talking about Alexander Dumas.
Right.
He's that guy, if you're unfamiliar with him. But he's a great character actor. And a matter of fact, I was speaking at a Comic-Con, and he was there too. My son, I think he was 9 at the time. My son really liked that actor in a movie called Road Racers, which is an early Robert Rodriguez movie. Did no business, was no big deal, but is a fairly decent vigilante hood movie. But anywho, William Sadler was there, and we got to meet him and shake his hand, and he was nice as can be. he was super cool, and he was shocked that any 9-year-old knew what Road Racers was. So so that was good. But anyway, point being, I'm setting this up because the line is his. He's a candidate, and he always says, I'm going to fix poverty, you can take that to the bank. And I'm going to fix homelessness, you can take that to the bank. So later in the film, he says, you can take that to the bank on the television. And then Steven Seagal responds to it, I'll take you to the bank, the blood bank.
Let's hear it.
And I'm like,
let's hear it.
Oh, you have got to. Okay.
Wait, no, sorry.
I'm going to take you to the bank, Senator Trent.
Yeah.
To the blood bank.
That is so great. That is the best. To the blood.
Oh man,
That is.
I don't. Who, like, even the writing of that, and I think this is the one. I'm pretty sure this is written by Ron Shusett, who wrote Alien with Dan O'Bannon and Return of the Living Dead and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, how did that guy write this on a page and not think, no one's going to say that line? That's not going to make it in. I'm amusing myself at this point. And then
it works. It makes it work.
Totally in.
And he just says it to the TV, right?
Yeah. So threatening too. Like he really, I want to see all
tied to himself. Yeah.
So that's one. The other one is he kills, I'm not going to say which bad guy because I don't want to give you a spoiler here, but he kills a bad guy and he says, that's for my wife. Could have left it at that. That's for my wife. But then he says, fuck you and die.
Yeah.
But he's already killed him.
That's right.
It's like the weirdest placement. It's like boom, boom, boom. That's for my wife. Fuck you and die.
Yeah.
I'm just
right. He's got to add that little extra something in there.
Weird.
The one the one little scene that really, I don't know if he was married to Kelly LeBrock before this or if it was this scene that made him fall in love with her, but just listen to this little, he's in a coma still and she's the gorgeous nurse at the coma center. And so here's a little scene here.
Would you like little pussy, JD? Just a little bitty pussy. Look what I've got here. Sweet. Shh, 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 shh. Besides, you've got so much to live for. Please wake up.
Oh my God, do you remember that? That's just amazing.
Oh,
so
good.
what she actually picks up the covers and looks at his manhood when she says, you've got so much to live for.
Yeah, it's
That
bad.
is
It's
really bad. That's
And
assault, sister.
I gotta say, their lovemaking scene is the worst lovemaking scene.
It is pretty
film
bad, yeah.
I've ever seen. It's you don't see much flesh, and that's fine.
No.
I don't mind that. But they could not look more awkward
That was
in
pretty
this
awkward.
love scene. Yeah, it's
Not
rough.
a lot. The thing that I really love about this, I always love a great training sequence, a Rocky running up the hill. There's a great sequence in this where he starts off like just lifting the bar with his weak comatose muscles, and then he's lifting more weight, and then he's like makes a makiwara board that's like rope tied around the board, and then he like breaks it, and then the acupuncture thing, he's got his little pamphlet.
crazy.
It's like, let's see how. Okay, and then he does self acupuncture, and then I don't know if this is a real thing, but he puts like incense on the ends of it, and then he's just sitting there with all the incense out of his acupuncture, and that somehow heals his grave injuries. That's a wonderful sequence.
Oh,
there.
that training scene. I mean, it might be interesting to watch that training scene and then watch the Sylvester Stallone one right after it, because
he does run up the hill. It's just like
he does run up a hill, but
Like-
I don't believe it at all.
no, because he's got that funny way of running too.
Oh my God, there's a lot of running in. Which one is it?
hand kind of goes like this when he runs.
Yeah.
It's just not a manly run.
No. I think Hard to Kill is the one where he chases the guy around through the alley when he's wearing a cut off t-shirt, and his arms are like noodles. There's actually a video on YouTube that's a compilation of all Steven Seagal running scenes.
The
And
noodle arms, yeah.
he is a bizarre runner. He just is, you know.
It does not look like a manly run, that's for sure.
No, I don't even know if I have a judgment on manly. It doesn't look like a human run. It's very weird.
Well, the arm just got me. Yeah, it just does. It does look. It's very awkward run. Let's put it that way.
One thing I should mention here is I wrote a screenplay called Nerves that was about comas, and in the writing of it, I had to do some research on comas. Comas are fascinating because only humans get comas. No other species on the planet
Not know that.
has this thing. Like hibernating bears is about the closest thing, but that's not a coma per se. But yeah, coma is a very real response for the body to heal itself. But if you are in a coma more than a year, you're never coming back. You're brain dead. So in movies, when people have been in a coma for 10 years, that's just not possible. Matter of fact, after a few months, you're probably not coming back.
Wow.
But it has been known, I think, people up to a year. Some
Oh,
have come
really?
out.
Okay.
They've had to relearn everything, but they survived. But yeah, so he's 7 years in a coma, and he grows this
And he grows
amazing beard.
a fake beard and a mustache.
Yeah, totally.
He grows
clearly
a
fake.
very fake beard mustache.
You know, I do like that he asked Kelly Brock about the beard, and she says, I trimmed that for you, which is why it looks like a Fu Manchu or something. It's a very strange beard for him, his face. And
Okay.
she must have really hated him
She
to like
chose
cut it in that style.
Well, it's also, I think that was pre Kill Bill. So I think Tarantino might have stolen that.
Might have.
Coming out of the coma and getting revenge.
You know, I have to ask, because I have a little note here as I was watching Hard to Kill, which isn't, I don't think it's a really good film, although it has so many ridiculous elements in it, enough to be entertaining, like him getting out of the hospital where she's pushing him in the gurney and
Like a
hitting
Three
every object in
Stooges.
the hospital. Like that kind of stuff is amazing. But I don't honestly think it's like pound for pound as good as some of the other ones.
No.
But I gotta say, this is the only one of the movies that feels like it's for men only. Like there's literally nothing in there that I think a female viewer would really find, aside from just its ridiculousness, would find within this story. I mean, I don't know. I saw this quote. It was related to Joe Rogan. It said, it was about Joe Rogan. It wasn't Joe Rogan's quote. It said, anything that only men like is probably no good. And I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, that's probably true. If only men like these movies, that means, yeah, there's probably something wrong with it. But then it occurred to me, I only think Hard to Kill would be the one. I think there's something that a female viewer would like in all the other movies. Just this one, where I'm thinking this is testosterone.
Even
movie.
Predator has a great female character.
Yeah, and you know, Kelly Brock, like
Most,
she's not
muscle-bound movie in the world.
exactly. You know, I do like that. I like when you know, a lot of my scripts and books, plays are really focused on women, and I've you know, I find I've been married for 30 years, and my wife is amazing and inspiring, and I love that. But like, if I see a movie that's purely Guyville, I really don't find it dramatically very interesting. But if I saw a movie that was purely from a feminine perspective, I actually would think that was interesting. So maybe those people might like Hard to Kill. But this is to wield a judgment on Hard to Kill. That was the one of this batch that we're talking about today that I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of a guy's movie.
Yeah, I didn't kind of catch that, but now that I'm thinking about it, I can see that for sure. There is there's kind of an inexplicable scene where he's like driving and he's listening to Chuck Mangione Feels So Good on the radio. It's kind of, and then I think the news report comes on, and I think he hears You Can Take That to the Bank thing. And I just found that kind of silly.
Yeah.
You know, a happy-go-lucky thing. It was,
You know, we'll talk about this later when we hit my all-time high.
Okay,
But
yes.
There's in every one of his movies, there are legitimately weird moments. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
he insisted they be in, or they were just so odd that whoever was the director, because all the directors of these movies, aside from Andrew Davis, they're really just journeymen. They didn't do much else there. They maybe shot some straight to video stuff, or they had a couple of small action films, but no, this is not a director. Maybe people don't like to work with Seagal, so they don't sign on for it, but they're serviceable directors. None of them are badly directed, but they're not like directed to the nines. So that makes me think like Tarantino would have chosen those odd moments. But why do these people choose these odd moments? No, it doesn't seem like in character.
Really fit at all. There's nothing really around it to make sense why he would be listening to Chuck Mangione.
I can only assume Seagal is weird, so he insisted they were in the movie.
Maybe it was his song of the time or something like that. Which I think is, let's see, I think that's going to bring us to Under Siege, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey, Erica Eleniak, and a bunch of other character actors.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fun. It's a big, as far as the budget, it seems big. I mean, for God's sake.
Well, actually,
Missouri.
I did write down the budget here. So Above the Law was 7.5. Hard to Kill was 10 million. Marked for Death was 9. So he's in this like 10 million. Yeah. I'll make 25 zone when he starts off. Yeah. But this one was 35 million and made 156 million.
Wow.
So this was his first certifiable breakout hit. And his character here, Casey Ryback, is fantastic.
It is a great character, I got to say. It's really good. Busey, so good.
This is the only role where I completely believe he can do all this. Like, there's this scene where he's making a bomb, and the thing where he puts the thing that explodes in the microwave to get a couple of bad guys. This is the only one where the script is smart enough that he really delivers in Under Siege.
He does. He shows his bona fide.
He's a hero.
Whenever he's got that knife and he's got the board, throwing it at it.
Yeah.
He can tell he knows what he's doing. Let's see if I have Busey's secret file here. And this is one you were saying, it doesn't happen until probably more than halfway through the film where we find out who he was. So here we go.
Ryback is an ex-SEAL.
Goddamn cook's a SEAL?
Shut up and listen. Expert in martial arts. Explosives, weapons and tactics. Silver Star, Navy Cross. Purple Heart with cluster. And security clearance revoked after Panama. That means he couldn't hold any rating except that of a yeoman or a cook.
I love it. And he's like gleefully saying this when it's his fault that he didn't lose out.
He suddenly knows quite a bit about the cook, that he should have probably shared with his other villains. Actually, this is interesting because there are two villains, and I guess in Die Hard, because this is Die Hard on a boat, that there were two villains in Die Hard in some way. There was Hans Gruber, and then there was the brother played by the ballet dancer.
Oh yeah, no, not Nureyev, but
Boris Godunov. Godunov, right?
He was good enough to play.
Yeah. So so that's fine, but this is a little more on parallel. Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey are both Hans Gruber in this movie, which is weird to have two.
That's true.
Different motives.
Yeah, you had to have Busey in there to get control of the ship, and then Tommy Lee Jones, he just wanted to make some cash with the sale
it's
of those things. Yeah,
it's such a quite honestly, the scheme is a harebrained scheme that probably wouldn't work. I felt like with Die Hard that was a good scheme that got shut down, but in Under Siege, I feel like kind of a hokey scheme, kind of a million things could have gone wrong.
Right. Yeah. A million things. Yeah. It's so true. And they do. Yeah. But it is. It's got one of the scenes, the throat rip scene, the esophagus rip shots, which is think I've seen that in one other movie, which that's probably in some other ones, but it's also in Roadhouse at the end fight.
Yeah.
He just grabs the guy's throat, rips it out. And then it's a great sound effect too. I'd love to be in the Foley room and then all right, your throat's just been ripped out.
Oh yeah.
Go.
Yeah, it's a very good point. You know, I like everything about this movie. I love they have the whole thing is a party which gets all the bad guys onto the boat because they're either participating in or catering this party. So they take over a U.S. warship and then try to sell all of its missiles was the scheme. But anyway, they take over this warship and they do have to bring a Playboy centerfold with them. And at first, you know, everybody's catcalling her and you know, it's typical 1992 sort of depiction. And then she's gone for a long time because they drug her.
Right.
And when she comes out of it in the middle of all the action, from there on, I think she's terrific. She's like a really cool addition to the cast. And even though at first she's a Playboy centerfold, she doesn't know how to build a bomb or anything. By the end of it, she is rock solid. She goes through that transformation really rapidly, I gotta say. But at the same
that was one thing I loaded. She's a Playboy model, learns to load and fire an MPK5 and load 16-inch guns in 30 minutes. She's like, okay, load, fire. You know, that was 6 months of boot camp, and she's good. But she is good. I do like where she shoots the guy that was just about to kill Seagal after he tried to blow up the submarine. So
she's got a good line of dialogue too, which is, well, it's like it's her line. She says early in the film, I don't date musicians and I won't kill anybody. And then later, of course, she kills somebody and he says, I guess she'll be dating musicians now.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
That works. Good callback.
And then also another cheesy callback was in the beginning where they're in the galley and one of the crew members comes up, let's see your moves, man. And so they have a guy and he's doing his dance moves. And so right at the very end, the dancer guy comes back on deck after he's succeeded in quelling this disturbance. And he's saying, let's see your moves, man. I'll show you moves. And then he kisses Erica Eleniak. Very good.
Yeah.
Almost like
everybody claps, but
yeah,
totally Top Gun moment. Totally, and that moment is, I could have done without it. It's fine in there. It didn't really add anything to the relationship of the character. They're not going to end up together. They're very professional in this retaliation against the terrorists. But there's 30 bad guys. They make a big point of saying up front, there's 30 bad guys, and he works through them like all the below deck stuff, and then moves to above deck. I mean, there are a lot of dead bodies there. They could not.
That's a big body count there.
That's big, man. 30.
The big beam that skewers the guy, that's a classic one. And then when they get into the metal shop and then they're doing all the welding, there's some good stuff in there too. He puts the guy through a buzzsaw, and I mean,
you know what's good about those fight sequences is I always felt like he could get hurt at any moment. They're in tight quarters. The objects seem like real objects. I'm sure they're not, but there was a real sense of mortality in him. And I was like, that'd be weird if Casey Ryback got killed or injured here. And I think he does get nicked with a bullet at one point, but he's pretty scraped free.
Well, he gets really hurt when the guy throws that anchor overboard and.
Oh yeah, that's right. He scrapes his back.
Yeah. So he does get pretty injured.
But I got to tell you,
happen.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in any of the other movies that much. But maybe it's another movie gets shot in the side. That's right. But and then of course he gets in a coma. So I guess
right. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Yeah.
Another movie. But Under Siege, 1992. If anybody's going to start with any movie of his, that's the one, because I even like Under Siege 2 pretty good. even though it's not Andrew Davis. This is, by the way, the second Andrew Davis movie that he worked.
Not the train one, or was that?
Yeah, the Under Siege 2 was a train one. That was sort of a not. Yeah, that was nice. Bogosian was the bad guy in there.
Right. Yes.
Another harebrained scheme, but that's another matter.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, but Under Siege is top drawer. I would say that's not only one of the best Seagal movies, if not the best Seagal movie of not counting the one we're about to talk about. But it is, a great 90s action movie, and I think anybody could enjoy that one.
Yeah, and they got the Missouri, that giant ship. It's a great it's a great background for the whole thing. And it doesn't hurt to have Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey in there too, as a foil.
Tommy was a great, interesting performance too, because he's supposed to be an operative, and I'm like, boy, how was he in the field? Because he's so crazy on that boat.
Right, and then there's the apologist kind of guy at the Pentagon or wherever they're talking to all the generals in the round table. The guy who's trying to say, well, we'll just blame it on the cook.
Quite often when they cut to the military upper echelon about a big nuclear threat, unless it's like Dr. Strangelove, it's usually pretty boring to see the cutaway to them. But I actually like this group of generals, and they all had stuff to do, and they were all sort of interesting characters.
Yeah, the interaction was actually pretty interesting, especially when he calls up and then Erica Eleniak answers like a secretary. Hello, it's like, well, he's quite busy now. He's in a firefight. Can I take a message?
Yes.
And she's on the speakerphone in this giant war room. Yeah. That was good, actually. Yeah.
It was good.
So fun movie. Casey Ryback. Yes, indeed. I don't know if you have anything else from that. I don't think I have any other clips from that. No. That's all I got from that. Yeah, that's it. So, are you ready to move into? Yeah. So, the real reason we're here is to talk about Out for Justice.
1991.
1991. Is this the second or third film?
This is after Marked for Death. So it's above the law, Marked for Death, Out for Justice.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I think that's what I wrote down. It seems to me like they could have created a Rambo type character that'd be the same person in the film, since they're similar. But anyway, there's a lot of things that are callbacks and runners, as they say, in this film. One of the funniest and tragic is the poor brother who owns that bar. He just,
oh God, yeah.
First he shows up. Does anybody know about Bobby Lupo? And then he continues to just destroy the place. And then the mob comes. And they destroy. And then his brother comes. And then he, oh my God, he comes back. The guy is just, it's pretty funny. I like that whole.
Oh, let me, if you'll indulge me here.
Yeah.
Can I give you a little schema here about this thing?
Oh, yes, please.
So, okay, in my 90s action thing that I said at the beginning of the pod here, I was working my way through these movies, some better than the others, but I was enjoying just the experience, pandemic, of watching all these 90s action films.
Oh, yeah.
And I came across Out for Justice, thinking it would be like above the law, or at very worst, Hard to Kill.
Right.
But I was watching the film thinking, well, this is a cut above. I like this. And then that bar scene happens. And I realized I was watching perhaps one of the best films I've ever seen. And that's what got me so excited. And it pays off for the whole movie. Okay, so here's the story for those who are unfamiliar with Out for Justice, just to give you a little.
One inciting incident, pretty much.
Yes, and it happens very early.
Very
very lean story. I love lean stories.
No, I like that.
Totally Totally cool.
Yeah.
Like I like Mad Max. That's a great lean story, you know.
True enough.
Cop busts a guy and he dies. The whole gang comes after him. They kill his whole family. He goes and kills everybody. You know, you can say it really easy. But okay, so this is similar. In this one, Steven Seagal plays a cop named Gino, right?
Yeah,
Is that it?
Gino. Yeah.
I can't remember. Gino. He plays a cop in the Italian area of Brooklyn, and he's got a partner. The partner is gunned down in a very early scene on the street by another. He's like a wannabe wise guy. He's got a crew of people. He's got a brother who runs this bar and a sister who was a prostitute but now works at a club. I couldn't quite figure that out. But William Forsythe plays the bad guy, and you may know him as a character actor, been around the block a lot, still working today. Kind of chubby guy with long trench coat, good look, nice mustache. But anyway, he kills the partner and then basically goes on a kill spree around Brooklyn, randomly snorting drugs and messing with people and just kind of like an animal. And so the cops are looking for him because it's the partner of Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal is looking for him because he's sort of a mobster, and the mob doesn't want this guy to be doing this behavior. The mob's all after him. So you've got these three groups trying to hunt this one guy down, and whoever gets him first gets him, obviously. But Steven Seagal wants to get him first, but he's not a very good searcher. I'm going to just say that he doesn't search very well through Brooklyn. But he's sort of the nemesis. But I gotta say, that's all it is. That is the entire movie. He spends one whole 24-hour day seeing his partner die and then going after this guy for a day and a night. And that's it. That's the whole thing. But I got to tell you, it is a riveting plot. Every time I even watched it this week in prep for this again, and I'm like, this is like a freight train.
Keeps going. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Richie is batshit crazy. It is so crazy, but I kind of love that. Totally insane. Yeah. So here's a clip of him. I think it's right after he shoots. I think it's right after he shoots the cop. So there's some lady is like,
for you. It's going to get a lot
in traffic before the fucking night's over. So honking at him. Get out of the
goddamn car.
Richie, what are you doing? Richie, get in the fucking car!
What the hell's the matter with you?
He's gonna do it, man. I'm an asshole?
No!
So he just pulls this lady out of the car and shoots her in the head. I mean, it's like, this is pretty early, and you're like, damn, okay, I see where this is going.
Well, this movie, of all the movies, is the most violent.
It is.
Yeah.
It is super violent. I mean, just to pull some random lady out and just cap her right there, it was like insane. You're like, what just happened? And the guys he's with are like, trying to settle him down. There's a huge body count in this one, as I recall.
At least for injuries. I don't know about deaths.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, right. There's
cripples a lot of people.
Broken teeth and broken arms. But when they come for his family, right? That's is that Sharon Stone in this one, or is that?
No, that's
that was the other one.
That's Above the Law.
That was Above the Law.
Early
very early Sharon Stone. But yeah, it comes for his. I think they were going to break up anyway. Yeah, so I think he takes care. He kills like 7 or 8 guys. Yeah. So this Richie's got a huge crew that will just do anything he wants too.
Yeah, like the crew you see him with is like 3 dudes, but then he's got henchmen everywhere apparently.
Just throwing them at it, and it is crazy. Also, what else was there? It was about Richie and the bar. That's the one thing. The great fight scene, which is just insane.
Yeah. Okay. Let me give a little, just a snapshot here. So Steven Seagal knows that the brother of the guy he's looking for runs this bar. And I should note, there's a lot of relatives. They're in a Italian neighborhood. They've all grown up together. They know him from when he was a child. But even these brothers, no one looks alike. They don't look like the parents. They don't look like the sister. Like, this casting doesn't matter in this. Like, no way are these guys brothers. But anyway, the brother owns a bar. He goes in the bar. Anybody seen Richie? And there's like 30 people in the bar, and he's just talking smack, and he's sort of lightly roughing people up. He's got his badge out. Anybody seen Richie? You've seen this in a lot of cop movies where the cop just like plays tough. But then he goes like and actually starts a fight. And he does things like he walks behind the bar and he's like knocking over everybody's beer, just being disruptive. One of my best quotes is he's picking stuff off the bar and like commenting about it. It's your beer, and he knocks it over.
Oh yeah.
He picks up a hot dog and says, "Whose hot dog is this?" And then he throws the hot dog away. "Whose hot dog is this?" I laughed till my gut hurt. I had to watch it twice.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So now my new favorite movie quote of all time is "Whose hot dog is this?" And I have more quotes from this movie than any other of them. Well, I don't know if I want to hit them all, but I got to say Jerry Orbach is the police commissioner, I guess, or boss of of Steven.
That's right. Yeah.
The Jerry Orbach Law and Order guy, I think.
Dirty Dancing.
Yeah. But he actually says, and I don't know if this is the genesis of this trope, but he says, "I'm getting too old for this shit." He actually says it in the movie. Like, just when you think the movie can't get any better, Jerry Orbach says, "I'm getting too old for this shit." So good.
That is a great one.
But anyway, the bar scene. Yeah. Then there's fight after fight after fight after fight in the bar, and it's like a 12, 18-minute scene. It just goes on and on of him just destroying one after the other, everyone in this bar.
It's great. That's
pretty delightful.
He takes the cue ball and puts them in a towel and then uses them to smack people. And then Danny Inosanto, a very famous martial arts guy, used to train with Bruce Lee. They call him Sticks because he uses the Eskrima sticks. So he gets the pool cues and they have a fight, and it's great. Yeah, there's all the classic stuff. And then the guy from San Quentin or whatever, he with the long anthrax beard kind of thing, he gets "you knocked my teeth out." Yeah, that's good. He gets it so bad.
Yeah. All these guys are clearly, they deserve this. But then again, I keep thinking he's a police officer.
Right.
He's literally causing like way more injury than is necessary. Oh, yeah. And there's a fight actually before that, the butcher shop fight. I'm like, he's the most vicious cop. Yeah.
Butcher shop.
Everyone's fighting with butcher knife, cuts a guy's arm off, and like, it's just crazy.
Yeah, let's just listen to a little of the butcher shop because there's some great yelling in there. The guy I think he got nailed to the wall with a butcher thing. Just here's some of it. Here's Richie leaving, thinking these guys are going to take care of him. That's my favorite one. Come get It just goes on and on. I love that.
It's so funny to hear it like by itself. I'm getting teary-eyed just laughing again because please, if you're listening to this podcast and you pick one movie, although clearly we just said Under Siege was probably
but come on.
But if you want to see the flip side of the coin, how this stuff can be done differently, Out for Justice. This I have never. I mean, it's violent and everything, but there is so much joy in the making of this movie. You could just feel that they knew they had something here because everyone is delivering. Like even Joe Flynn, who's a nobody director, he did Lock Up. This movie's sound design is amazing. The music's pretty good, which is good. I mean, it's a lot of that Simmons drums.
Yeah, because that's early 90s thing. Yeah,
total cliche. But like, there's a car chase in here that is way better than it ought to be. Like,
it's almost the French Connection kind of. That's Chicago, right? So I think that's Lake Street under the L, where he's going over all the humps and stuff.
Yeah,
it was actually that was pretty decent car chase.
Yeah, it's just it's way better, but it's also at the same time really bad because like it's a profoundly weird movie. Like, for example, there's an informant, a kid selling newspapers or pops or something on the street. And this guy pays off later, but he's really not a big character. But Steven Seagal stops, talks to the kid, and he's like, "Do you want anything, before you go, from the drinks that he's selling?"
Oh, right,
Cokes and stuff.
right.
He says, "Give me a 6-pack of seltzer."
Right, a 6-pack of seltzer.
And I'm like, what a weird choice. But then not only is that weird, he never drinks it. And yet they had to have the prop and they had to have the continuity. Because if you ever see his car, the seltzer is always sitting on the seat. I'm like, what was the point of buying the seltzer? It doesn't make any sense.
Idea. And who would sell seltzer water?
A 6-pack. Why does he buy it? He doesn't buy one. He buys a 6-pack of seltzer just to sit on his seat through the car chase.
So here's they showing the callback, and this is really fun too, right? So in the beginning, he sees this guy just kind of throws this little German Shepherd puppy out the door. So he's a animal abuser guy, so well deserved to get his ass kicked. And so I think they wait until the final scene there.
Sort of a coda, yeah.
Yeah, and the on the pier, and then he sees the guy, and then I think he gives him Swift kicking the balls or something like that. But
he does. He just kicks him in the balls, which is a great ending as well.
It is.
Just it doesn't do any real damage except kick the guy in the nuts.
But he's a good guy because he likes the little puppy. He's nice to the puppy.
That again, going back to this, Dirty Harry is an anti-hero. Popeye Doyle's an anti-hero. That's okay to have in a movie, but this one has a serious moral code to it. There's a real
oh yeah.
I mean, Out for Justice is a great title for that because that is literally how you feel about it, where this is a just cause.
Yeah. He doesn't even find out his partner was dirty until way into the picture either.
It doesn't really matter why he was shot. He's just going after him, and then later he realizes, okay, wait, he's connected with this because there is a mystery and reveals, and he gets clues as he goes along the way.
It was not a world-ending thing. It was just left with his girlfriend or something, right? It was kind of it.
Yeah. So it's infidelity basically at the end of the day. Not Steven Seagal, but again, he's got a moral code. He's got a child. There's usually children in there. He's protective of animals, and he saves a puppy, which is freaking brilliant. He on Deadly Ground, he's got Save the Whales kind of vibe.
True.
I don't know what the later films look like. I don't know. And I didn't see his big comeback film where he was the bad guy in Machete. So maybe there's other things in the catalog, but these early films, they clearly wanted to define him as an anti-hero, yes, with a little bit of shades, but very little shade. He is extremely on the side of good, always,
And he makes sure he talks about the Italian mob guys. The second time it's like, no, I'm nothing like you. We grew up in the same neighborhood, but I'm not like you. And then, but he does befriend that. He's friends with this one of the mobster guy, and he even gives him the kill, for his mob bosses to
gives him credit.
Give him credit.
Yeah,
but he's got that little soliloquy, that little story about his uncle Pino or something like that
with the knives.
Yeah,
the guy who sharpened knives.
Oh my God, that's so great! It's like a huge story, and it's like for me to God, and it even goes like. Trying to sell it, just me and you, between me and God. God's got a sense of humor,
What was it? God's a puppeteer, or just at the end of the strings, or whatever.
Yeah. One of those deals. It's like it was kind of interesting to see that kind of couple minute scene of just him walking and talking with this guy and telling the story about his dad and then. Uncle Pino or whatever.
Very long monologues. The film is there's a montage in the middle that was clearly not meant to be a montage. They must have realized we're shooting way too much for this thing, and they had to slim it down. It's still an hour 40, I think, but it'll stop dead for a Steven Seagal soliloquy, and it actually doesn't hurt it.
No,
Like,
no,
that's
I always
strange,
enjoyed
yeah.
that part. I do. It's kind of like the
Oh.
breath of little breather there,
Yeah.
and then he gets back to it.
Yeah, I like the relationship with him and his wife. I liked
Yeah.
I like that like, for example, when he says to the kid, who's his son in the scene they have together, where he's like, "Can we play ball, Dad?" And he's like, "You done with your homework?" And he's like, "No." And then he waits and he's like, "But you still want to play ball?" Okay, fine.
Then, of
And
course,
you
he
can
gets
just tell,
ball
like, yeah, immediately he doesn't get to fulfill it. But at the same time,
Yeah,
like,
he
all
wanted
these
to.
attempts are being made to show him as a good guy. I like that.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah.
And so there's another. Yeah, Richie is such a bad person.
Yeah, the opposite for him. Yeah, everything they can do to show him as a bad guy, they do,
Right.
including all those scenes with Juliana Margulies in her first movie, where she later went on to be very famous in ER.
That's right. That's right.
But she plays an ex-prostitute trying to go straight who had Richie as a customer at some point.
I thought that was pretty good, that whole kind of relationship. Like, she realizes that she's got to go along with what he's doing because he's nuts, and she knows how to settle him down. And here, let's just go in this room. And that was good. That was good. I like that. That was well done.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So obviously things come to a head, and we save the big Richie and Steven Seagal character, which is I love that scene. I know that
it's funny.
You mentioned that part of that scene, the leg.
The leg. Oh my God, when they blow
my
off
leg.
But the funny thing is, the shot of him blowing off that guy's leg is because he's got a shotgun, is very short. But then you hear the guy yelling from the other room for the rest of the scene.
I know, that's the funny part. Yeah, right. He's already gone, and he's working his way to the back, and it's like, "You took my leg." Yeah.
The sound design is so good. You hear him like fade. The further Seagal gets from him, you hear him fade in the background, but he's still there, still screaming about his leg.
Brilliant. That is brilliant. I do love that.
And in a movie that has so many action scenes and so many good ones, you wonder what's left for that last confrontation when you finally get Richie and Seagal in a room.
Oh yeah.
But man, it's great too. It's really good.
It's good. That's one where he uses the weapons against him a lot, like a frying pan and I think he's done.
Yeah, there's a whole kitchen accessories fight.
Finally, I think it's a final corkscrew. Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, frying pan and a rolling pin, and just turns it around on him. Whack.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So genius.
Let me look here.
You have anything?
Trying to find my notes. Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill was 1990. So this was the follow-up to Hard to Kill. So I missed that. It was Above the Law, Marked for Death, Hard to Kill.
Okay.
Out for Justice.
Okay.
So he's 4 movies in,
wow.
And you can tell that he's finally like, I get this. I get who this guy is. Like, and it's, I can tell the marketing people know who he is too, because the very first scene in the movie, again, he interrupts some evil doing and does it in a real Dirty Harry kind of way. But as soon as the stuff is done, there's like a boom, a slam shot of him just looking badass, and it just says Steven Seagal, like right over. He gets a freeze frame and a title card as the first title card. It's his name. So I think it's this point where the studio's figured out this isn't a $10 million guy. We might have the next big thing. And they kind of did with Under Siege and Under Siege 2, but then they really didn't thereafter because of course who he is. But the early stuff, I mean, he's not a great actor. He's, and some of these fights look sort of hokey in some of the movies, not in Out for Justice, but I don't know if he's stronger or better as in real life. I have enough that I get that he can do more than Darren Callahan, so that's cool. But I don't know how legit any of the real life stuff is, but I got to admit, in seeing this body of work from the early part of his career, I can see why people put money in him.
It's believable. And, it was a style that was really that Aikido, which was not really seen before in film. So it had a lot of that round kind of using your energy against you and stuff, which I found is cool and rewarding for the audience to see the bad guy get hit with his own rolling pin or whatever. It's kind of fun, right? So it's like, here you go. All right, bam. So I think it's very good. Under Siege 2, I think there was a good fight too on the train. The bad guy who was in People Under the Stairs or something. He's been in a few horror films, I think, the bad guy. But
yeah. Next time, Rob, we'll have to talk about horror because, I'm not, I do love all movies, including action movies, including good and bad action movies. But I'm really a horror guy. That's what I'm.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we had this discussion about. There's one thing that I liked about also was that they used No Sleep Till Brooklyn in Out for Justice, which was a pretty cool choice, I thought. That fit really well.
Yeah, actually, the whole Brooklyn location and the sounds and the songs they chose and the music they have in there, it all works.
It does. And the one final thing about Richie's character that he makes fun of the guy in the wheelchair for not being able to, do it with a woman.
Yeah, just an obvious sort of thing. And
then he just kills him because he thinks he ratted on him. It's like, oh boy.
I often wonder, why would somebody be friends with somebody who could turn around and kill you? Like, I wouldn't go to the party that guy was at. Just, random guy.
Yeah. Altogether, the most entertainment value per minute, I got to say, of all his films. Yeah.
I mean, I might watch it again tomorrow, man, because I watched it for the first time and I loved it so much. I watched it a second time and then I watched it again for this podcast. So I've only seen the film 3 times and every time I have had a joyous night. So I need to watch it again. It's
great. People out there, go see it because it's a good one. It's definitely a good one. So this was a hoot, as they say in Owl Land. This was real fun. And a real pleasure having you on and meeting you, Darren. It was great having you on, and hopefully we'll have a few other topics here in the horror genre to talk about.
Yeah, anytime. I had a good time too, Rob. And I recommend everybody out there listen to the Giallo episode because you had an excellent episode on the Italian horror films known as Giallos.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was super fun researching that. I didn't know a ton about it. I just knew I liked them. So.
I love them.
Yes, they have a Giallo thing at the Music Box. They had a few.
And they have that out here too. It's the same people.
Oh, cool. The one thing that I heard about on Josh Olson and Joe Dante's podcast, The Movies That Made You, was the guy who ran the fest. What is it called?
Fantastic Fest.
It was something like that, but it was the name of a Giallo movie. Shoot. I forget the name of it. Anyway, it's like the biggest genre fest that there is, and it's in LA.
Oh, is it Beyond Fest?
Beyond Fest. That's
Beyond
the one.
Fest, yeah.
That's the one.
I love it.
Have you been there? The one?
I went every year until COVID, and they haven't had it since.
Yeah.
So
I will fly out for the next one. It's just, I gotta see that. So
one day they showed 5 David Cronenberg movies, and then David Cronenberg showed up at the end. That was
cool.
Great day.
Yeah, I guess they have really good guests too and stuff.
One time I was there and I was watching Blade Runner, and Joanna Cassidy was just sitting next to us, and she was just there to see the movie.
Cool.
So it's weird. They're like, "Do you want to come up, Joanna?" So
yeah, it's the bonuses of those things. So fun.
Yeah,
well, that's great. We will see you all audience next time when we bring you. Who knows what's coming next? I haven't really thought about it too much, but I think I got some ideas. So
all right,
we will talk to you later, and thanks for listening to Apocalypse Cinema.